Good. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed lunch. And all right, hello everyone. How are y'all doing today? Good. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed lunch and the awards. It is my privilege to welcome our next guest speakers with First Gen Programs and Retention Management and Innovation. They will be discussing a presentation called Ready, Set, Prep. Prepare your mentor program for RSH. If you can please help me welcome our presentation facilitators.
Hi, thank y'all for coming to my session. I'm really excited to talk to you, and I'm really excited to share with all of you the great things that our students are doing. So just so all of you know, I'm the director of our first generation transition and mentoring program here on campus. And so our group of students are peer mentors, which I'll kind of share with you a little bit more about what they do. They are the first student group on campus to use Raider Success Hub with their mentees. So they've been able to, that mentor-mentee relationship, to track and document. There were some obstacles that we went through for all of us to learn how to utilize this system, but it's been really good. And I think overall, on my end, it really helps me to be able to track in reports and data and just understand everything that the students are utilizing. So again, my name is Sharon Gonzalez. I'm the director of our First Gen program. I also have Lauren with us, who's in the back, which I know many of you have heard and seen her all day today. And so I wanted to share with you a little bit. I know some of you are familiar with our program, but I also wanted to share with you a little bit about kind of what we do and how our peer mentors support all of our first gen students on campus. And so our official definition for the university is, what is a first gen student? And so Texas Tech University defines a first generation as a student whose parent or guardian has never earned a 4-year bachelor degrees here within the US. And so we do also have a fun little video with a lot of our students and staff. And so I wanted to share that with y'all. Okay, well, never mind. It's not working, so we can't hit play. But no, so this video, and I'll definitely, it's all of our social media website. It just talks about what it means to be a first gen student, all of the obstacles that they face and they overcome as they're coming to college, the different challenges that they face, and the support system that they need. Including in there, there's also a lot of staff and faculty who talk about being first gen. They are a first gen professional. They're able to use their skills and resources to be able to help navigate those experiences. Additionally, we have first gen champions on campus, which are staff and faculty who are not first gen, but who want to help support our first gen students with resources. But I think we got it.
Being first gen means being the first in your family to receive a bachelor's degree in the United States.
It means being the first to pave the way for yourself and those after you.
In my family, being first gen meant I was a trailblazer.
Being first gen to me means capitalizing on the sacrifices my parents made.
Being first gen to me means it's never too late to learn.
Being first gen can be confusing and a brand new experience for both you and your parents.
There's a lot of unknowns.
It means I had a lot of questions coming through the college process, and not only answering those for myself, but also answering those for my family.
Being first gen means not letting fear stop you from pursuing your dreams.
Being first gen is not something to be afraid of. You don't have to be scared. You can definitely use that and embrace it and kind of be proud of that.
We are not only bringing change for ourselves, but also to others.
It's opening doors for yourself and bringing others to the table.
Being first gen at Texas Tech means you are not alone.
Texas Tech provides the first generation mentorship program to help you through it.
Here on campus, there are a lot of resources to answer those unknown questions.
I think it's important to find at least one person on campus who you feel comfortable talking to, and really realizing that there are so many people here that want to help you succeed.
And so that's what I wish people knew about first gen students.
It's Jordan Breedlove, and I'm first gen.
My name is Kim Simone, and I am first gen.
My name's Bobby, and I am first gen.
We are first gen.
We are first gen.
We are first gen.
Sorry that you couldn't hear that too well. But yeah, so I love sharing this video because it shows a lot of how students are so invested being with that first gen experience and how they're like, I'm first gen. I'm going to share my story with you. I'm going to share that I'm first gen and my obstacles and things that I went through as here on the college experience. And so just a little bit about our program. So within first gen, what we do is we offer events, we do programming, we provide resources and support, but a majority of what we do is we focus on mentorship. So we have our first gen peer mentors, which there's actually 3 of them here right now. And so what they do is they are given a caseload of students for them to navigate through their college experience. So right now, I actually have probably about 25 to 27 peer mentors, but they also have caseloads of hundreds of students. Because of how many first gen students we have on campus. And so with a peer mentor, what they do is they just provide that support and that relationship with them, whether they need somebody for academic help, their academic support, whether they need professional development to kind of guide them on their next steps, or sometimes they just need a friend and they need a companion because they feel alone and they're dealing with imposter syndrome and they're dealing with all of those things happening on campus as they transition. And so our peer mentors are there to support them. You know, as students come on, I had a peer mentor. I'll go meet you in the sub. We'll walk together. We'll go find all these resources and just be that person for you. So it's really exciting that we're able to use Raiders Success Hub with this because I'm able to see all of the great things that my students are doing. I'm able to see their interactions. I'm able to see kind of the communications that they're having in between with their mentees. And so with the program, just a little bit about kind of how we match. So we match our students based on their major. There is a matching system with Raiders Success Hub that me and Lauren are actually working on at this moment on how to match them. Because, fun facts, we have now officially a little bit over 12,000 first gen students on campus. So matching those students is very complicated to match that many with them, along with kind of the peer mentors. Because there's so many students, we just match the students based on their major. Other programs will do hobbies and interests and, what do you like to do on the weekends and things like that. But because this is so big, we just match by the major, which is really good because a lot of times as students come in, they have questions about classes. They have questions about their professors. And these students have already had those professors, have already had those classes and be able to help them navigate through those experiences. Next, and so to kind of jump into it, previously when we had to log interactions before Raiders Success Hub, we had to individually match. So we were there like, okay, who left and who's still here and who graduated and who decided just to leave and transfer the university. And so can you imagine doing that with 12,000 students? It is very, very challenging. So and so we used to individually match. We would spend a whole day and be like, okay, today's matching day, let's match and kind of go through all of that. This semester, I've really leaned on my students to help me match just because it is a lot for us to do it. And so it's really exciting to know that Raiders Success Hub can kind of, you pick that category and that filter, and it will be able to kind of help you match all of the students together. Additionally, we used to use Microsoft Forms for all interactions. My students will probably share this with you here in a minute, but every interaction they had to submit a Microsoft form. Okay, well, what was the topic that you met? Was it a student concern? What is it about academics? Was it they just needed a friend? You know, what topic that you picked there, and then you had to notate it. So if you have multiple interactions with students a day, these students are filling out multiple Microsoft forms. As a staff member, that's also very overwhelming for me to be able to say, okay, I have 25 to 30 peer mentors, and now I have to go through every single one of their interactions. Last year, we had thousands and thousands of interactions. So going through all of those Microsoft forms each individually is a lot, and pulling that information. Pretty much every semester, we on the back end would have to pull those reports. So then we would have to pull those Microsoft forms for each student and then kind of create that data in that report system that we needed on our end. Well, now they're able to kind of just track all that information. So it takes a lot of load off of our end as staff, and then also as the students. You know, we try to figure out ways to make things easier for them because we also know they have the academics and they have their life. And yes, they work for us, but we also have to be cautious of them as well. Additionally, manually tracking attendance for events. We have a lot of events. We have probably 2 or 3 events a semester or actually a month. And so to be able to track that, sometimes things can slip through the cracks. And so again, we would use Microsoft Forms. And I'm pretty sure these students are like, stop using these Microsoft Forms with these thousands of questions that we have. And so being able with Raider Success Hub to log those events and track those is going to make that a lot easier for us. So we don't manually have to do that. Everything will populate and generate on that end as well. Not being able to understand alerts of students or concerns as peer mentors meet with their mentees. When they put their Microsoft Forms, you know, they know all of their interactions, they know everything that they communicated with that student, but how do I know if there's a red flag? I don't, unless a student, you know, my students come to me and they're like, hey, Sharon, I met with this student and we had a conversation and I don't think it went too well. But not every student will be able to catch those red flags. So with that, I was not able to be in the loop to understand, you know, maybe a student is struggling academically and they just don't know who to ask and what questions. I don't expect my students to put their advisor hats on and be able to guide them through those. But you know what? I can step in as a staff member and say, you know, hey, I can go meet with Sandra and Sandra's going to help me and figure all of this out. And so being able to have those resources is really important. And so being able to be involved with what's going on with interactions and the students has allowed us to really just jump in to be able to support students in that holistic way. Yes. Did somebody say? I'm hearing things. I thought I heard somebody say something. And so just to kind of talk about what Raider Success Hub has done to support us. So each student, as we mentioned earlier, they have caseloads from 200 to 400 students. That's a lot of students for our peer mentors to meet with. I will say, obviously, not all of them respond. But, you know, my goal would be hopefully they do respond. But being able for students to navigate that many interactions with having a 200 to 400 student caseload is a lot. So Raider Success Hub has really helped us to be able to navigate kind of their caseload that they have, but also be able to communicate with them, whether it's individually. I know there's a few gaps that are going on, but I think at the moment students can send emails with like JPEG attachments and things like that, up to 50 to 75 students at a time. And so being able to have that is allowing us to really connect with the students and provide them, you know, hey, we're having an event today about time management. You should really come. And hearing that from another student, students are like, oh, I'm there. If this is going to help you, it's going to help me too. Additionally, scheduling appointment with their mentees. It's been really cool to see our peer mentors being able to have, they are listed as student success, their student success team. So every student, as they come on campus, based on the application that they fill out of their education level of their parents, that automatically puts them into a first gen category based on what they picked. So every semester we communicate with Lauren and say, hey, Lauren, here's my new 12,000 caseload. Here you go. These are all first gen students. And so as all of you go meet with students, there should be a tag in there that says they are a first gen student. And so that's a good way for all of you to see that they are first gen students and realize, okay, maybe we need to kind of slow down a little bit, or maybe Leah needs to support a little bit, or ask a few more questions to be able to help them. But with the students being listed as success specialists, the student or success team, the mentees are able to go in there and schedule appointments with them. They mark their availability on what they have, which is a lot of times their office hours or if they want to meet on campus. And so being able to do that has allowed students to schedule appointments. I will say this is a new thing, so students are catching on very slowly. But I think with having our peer mentors really pushing those students to schedule that appointment through Raider Success Hub, I think will help all other students on campus say, I need to meet with my advisor. But you know what? With my peer mentor, I had to go on here to schedule an appointment. Maybe I need to do that with my advisor. Maybe I need to meet with someone from this department. Additionally, it helps us keep up with accurate and complete and appropriate documentation. Again, we would manually enter in our documentation. We would have to sort it out with thousands of Excel sheets and documents and all of that. And so this pretty much just kind of puts it all together for us to have in that one-stop shop. And so again, you know, during reporting season, when we want to justify, you know, why we do what we do, when we want to talk about the great impact that our students are having, this documentation and everything is a great point for us to be able to show all the great things that we're doing. Also with this, we're able to go in there and review the interactions. You know, if I want to see, okay, Arturo has met with 10 students. I just want to double check and make sure that everything's going good. He's following policy and procedure on language. I can go back and review those interactions. and kind of just talk, okay, well, let's talk this through. Maybe we need to work on kind of language on this, or, hey, great job. I'm so proud of you. Like, thank you for having that impact on that student. So it's not just for critique, but it's also for kind of like some big wins to be able to say, you're doing great. I saw you met with 10 students this week. Like, I'm so proud of you. Like, way to go. And so on the staff piece, it's really helped us just be able to kind of understand what's going on and the questions that are being answered in that system, because those are also things that will help us build as we think about programming, as we think about events, as we think about resources and things that are needed for students. Additionally, peer mentors are also allowed to create their own follow list. So when you log into Raider Success Hub on the main page and you pull up a student, there's a button that says follow. And so like for me, I follow all of my peer mentors on there because I want to be able to keep up with them. Also, I also need to do my due diligence to make sure that, yes, they work for me and they're doing all of these great things, but I need to make sure that they're staying on track academically. I need to make sure that there is no alerts for them that I need to jump in and help and support. So it's being able to follow them and just keeping up with them and keeping track with kind of what's going on has really been able to help me in case I do need to jump in and help. Again, alerts, the students can provide alerts to let us know when we need to jump in or what support that we need, or, hey, I think the student needs to meet with counseling services, or I think the student needs to go to the career center to talk about different options. And so those have been a really big thing. We try to collaborate quite a bit, but there's so many people on campus. And I think having this system is easy for us to just reach out to other departments and support that we need as we go through. So to talk about onboarding, when it comes to onboarding, there's a lot of different things that we had to do on our end. Me, Lauren, and Phoebe became best friends for a good minute because we had to communicate pretty frequently to talk about, okay, well, I need this and we need assignments and we need all of this information. And so pretty much providing that information before the students jumped in to do that mentoring piece and to log their interactions was really helpful. So we talked with Lauren about automatic assignments based on, rules. So with ours, we match our students based on their major. So Lauren will go in there and kind of set these filters and helped us with being able to be like, okay, let's match everyone by their major. Additionally, there are manual assignments based on students who want to be opt out, who want to be like, their application didn't show they were first gen. So we need to bring them in. And again, we just communicate with Lauren, say, hey, these students need to be added. We need to take these off. Additionally, so what we do is every single semester, we will communicate with Lauren and provide that Excel sheet. As all of you have mentoring, if you have mentoring programs or you have students, your caseload is probably not as big as ours. So you may be able to, if I'm not mistaken, will they be able to add it themselves with kind of their student list per semester? Or is that something that you would do still, Lauren? Awesome. Yes. So, I mean, if you have a smaller caseload, you can definitely manually add yourself. But with us being 12,000 students, I'm like, Lauren, here's a spreadsheet. Can you please add it in there? And so I think navigating through that has been really helpful, especially when you do have turnover. Students graduate, they leave, and they're like, oh, I found another job. And so being able to kind of go through that has also been really good. One of the expectations too that our students had to do before they could touch Raider Success Hub or utilize the system, they had to go through their FERPA training, just as all of us as staff. So we want to make sure that students understand you cannot share information. You can't kind of all the policies and expectations of that. Again, kind of what we talked about was appointment availability. We walk the students through the process of setting up their availability so other students can schedule appointments. We also talked about documentation, as you document things, and we'll go a little bit more into that in a minute, but kind of like my mind thinks of putting my advisor hat on. I can't throw all of the students' information on there. It's like student came in, needed support for resources, provided them, kind of sent them over here to this department, but also for students on understanding, hey, my student went out last night and they were tired and they don't want to come to class and this is why they didn't go to class. That's obviously not an appropriate documentation that needs to be added. So those conversations had. And then of course, just being responsible with the information that is in there. There is a lot of information. Students do not have full staff access, but they do have a lot of access where they have access to all of this, pretty much all of the students' files. And so we do have to have those conversations of, okay, just make sure you're not mad at your best friend and you're over here looking at your best friend's account because you just want to look at it. Those are things that will also flag up on our end. If I have a student who's just going through all of these students' caseloads, we will get those, we will be able to be notified, or they will be able to be notified for that. Also, just talking about communication methods. How do you communicate? Arturo is one of our lead peer mentors, and he has created templates for emails. All right, so this is a good welcome email. This is a good starter email, how you share as you start communicating with students. And so I think just hitting all of these points, sometimes these are things that we don't think about as we work with our students and train them, and like, no, we have to go over these expectations. Additionally would be onboarding. So when we talk about onboarding, it's onboarding for our students. And so every semester we have a student, we have our student semester orientation. So it is for all of our peer mentors and all of our student assistants. And so during that orientation, we go over any updates. We talk about policy and procedures. We talk about the roles and responsibilities that they do. They do team building activities. And so this is a great time that we talk about Raider Success Hub. In the fall semester, we actually had Blake come out and meet with a lot of our students just to talk them through, okay, this is what we do in Raider Success Hub. This is how you utilize it. This is what tools and resources that we have available. So I think creating that into an orientation or to some type of training with students is really beneficial, because at that time, that's very serious information. And so I think throwing kind of that all at them, they're able to kind of gauge and understand what we're going over. Additionally, we've been doing Raider Success Hub training and refreshers. Obviously, there's the trails, utilize the trails. Those are big things. But additionally with that, just, hey, Lauren, do you mind meeting with my students this afternoon or next week just to answer any questions they have or to see if there's any gaps? And so they've been really amazing. We just reach out to them and they're there to help support with any refreshers or any trainings that we have. Again, we talked about the email templates for the mentees. So just helping them understand how they can communicate, a welcome email, an email that they're leaving. We're so proud you're graduating. Thank you for being part of our first gen family. If you ever need anything, we're here. And so just having those resources is really beneficial when it comes to that student piece for them to be able to understand, because every student kind of communicates a little bit different. And so I think having those templates is really important. What we've done internally is we've done confidentiality agreements. I've made students kind of sign a little contract to say, okay, yes, you've done FERPA. Yes, you've done this, but I need you to really understand that you cannot share this information. And so we've really talked about all of those things, and they will sign those. They sign those every semester at orientation. That way they get a refresher and they agree with the refresher and kind of understand the expectations as they go into the new semester. Again, we continuously talk about FERPA and the importance of FERPA and how we just navigate all of that. If somebody's mom and dad call, you can't give the students information out. How do you navigate those things? And so we always just say, refer back to us. If there's something that you can't answer or a question that you don't know, just send them my way. I'd rather be the one to take care of that and navigate that than to leave that on our students' piece. And then additionally, we've had just focus groups with our first gen peer mentors have been able to determine kind of gaps. This is a learning season, so we're not doing this perfect. There's gaps. There's things that we're learning. I met with them the other day and they were like, okay, yes, I don't like this and I don't like this, but I like this and this is going good and maybe we should do this. And so we constantly have those conversations. That way we can talk to the team in Raider Success Hub on what we can do to kind of enhance the support that we're needing on our end. And then this just kind of goes back to the documentation. So again, just as, I think I'm really trying to iterate this just that way, especially when these are students. As staff, it's a little bit, we can kind of understand it a little bit, but with students, understanding how documentation is so important. Just being able to navigate those words and understand. And so we have some resources that I've created for the students, just for them to understand the do's and don'ts of how to document, something, how not to document something. I think as students, having that visual really just kind of helps them understand, because those are things that we also understand as staff. But again, just reiterating that to them as well. And then the next thing would be the student and staff roles. You know, I am very involved as a director with my program. I'm always there at events. I'm always, you know, cheering my students on, but I also have to be cautious of my time and myself. And so I do know there's a lot of staff members who have come to me and they're like, well, why aren't you part of the success team? I don't have time to be part of the success team. Like I have so much going on right now. And so I think being able to allow the students to be the only piece of the student success piece, because at the end of the day, when their mentees go look for them and they want to have, they're like, I have a question for first gen, or I need to talk to somebody from first gen. I want the students to go to them because one, we're building them up to be leaders and to navigate those conversations and those things. So having the students listed as the success team will pretty much funnel those students to them directly. Now we have our staff listed as a direct contact for the department. So if a staff member around campus is looking like, hey, I need to speak to somebody from first gen, but I don't know who works there, they can find me and Phoebe's information on there as a direct staff member, and they can contact us with support we need. Or if a parent or a student is like, who works in first gen, and then we can navigate them to our peer mentors. But my suggestion would be as a staff or a faculty member to not be put on the student success team, because what will happen is students will start bombarding you with emails. Hey, I have a question. Where's the event tonight? Or, hey, what do I do here? How is this? What I need a resource for this, which is great. We are always here to help support students, but this is also their position, and we want them to kind of take the lead on all of that. And so that's just something that I've kind of heard and we've navigated through. I think additionally, we were part of this success team, and then it was like, nope. Like you just kind of started getting too much information. And so I think just letting the students be the leaders in those roles, I think it's really important. So I talk very fast, and so please take some time on questions. But I do have a couple of my peer mentors here, and so I want them to take the lead on any questions or anything that we have. And so I do want to introduce them. So I have Valerie, who is one of our first gen peer mentors. Say hi, Valerie. Yes. I'm trying to break her shyness. She will get there. But she's been with us for a good minute. You know, she has been interactive with a lot of our events, a lot of our programming and things that we're doing. Additionally, we have Arturo, which is one of our first gen lead peer mentors. He has been with us for several years, and I am very proud of him. And he has taken the lead to just help lead all of the other students as they navigate. So like with Arturo, if the peer mentors have questions, they go to him. And if they need support, they'll go to him. And then he'll kind of come to me if there's any kind of support or questions that he's not able to answer on his end. But I do have a fun like mentee meter that we can use in case you don't want to speak up and ask questions. And so I'll switch it over there, but I will bring them up and let them answer for you. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, so I have the mentee meter here. If you, I know people sometimes don't want to ask questions and yell and talk. I'm the one that I'll be yelling all day. But if you want to log in here, you can go to mentee.com and use that code, and you can ask your questions on there. Or if you want to ask, it's here. Yes, my students have lived this experience, and they've been really the front line of this. So I can be up here and talk all day, but they use it on a daily basis. And so I wanted them to kind of take the lead in questions that you have.
Go ahead.
So this whole presentation has actually been really helpful. I work in Davis College, and we're on like the very, very first stages of developing our own peer mentor program. So what, as far as recruitment, what do y'all do for the mentors? What do y'all have? What recruitment tools do y'all?
You need to recruit another mentor or recruit mentees?
Yeah, to recruit a mentor. I'm just stuck in my head. I'm thinking, okay, so we just ask the mentees that are that go through the program if they'd like to be mentors, or is that something else?
Yeah, that's how usually I asked a new mentor. For instance, like we say, like we have like over 200, between 200, 400 people, students, right? So once we see like the interaction that we have, I think if we see that someone's like really interested in the position, or like someone that maybe not be interested, but like, he has like the qualities, the capacities, we ask him, are you interested? Would you be interested? So in that case, that's how pretty much we get the new mentors. Yes.
Do y'all use any sort of interview process?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, we do. So us as staff will reach out. The students send us emails like, hey, I have a friend or I have a mentee who's been my mentee for a year. I think they'd be great as a peer mentor, because our peer mentors are juniors and seniors. And so they're able to send those students to us. So what we do is we schedule an interview with the students. But what I do is I include my students in the interview. I will facilitate it and I will lead it, but they will also ask questions. Because at the end of the day, yes, I can make the decisions all I want, but if my students and my team feel that they're part of this mentor role and these initiatives that we're doing, then I don't think I should make that decision. I want them to make that decision. So they're included with every interview process that we do. But yeah, we go through like as kind of a staff member in a way, but pretty minimal. We'll do an interview, we'll do some questions, and then they are able to ask any questions they have, and then we sit down and discuss. I'm like, okay, what do you think? They're like, yeah, I think it'll be a great part of our team. I'm like, okay, well then let's move on to the next steps and see what we
Right.
Any other questions? Only undergraduate. So right now it's actually undergraduate and grad. And so right now we're working on kind of the graduate level piece of it, but a majority of the peer mentors are undergraduate.
Yeah, we only have one grad student, and also like the majority of the students that reach out to us are undergrad students. Every once in a while, we also have like graduate students, but like also most of them are just undergrads.
Tell me about how you like, well, I don't know, this is more of a you thing, I think, to Sharon, but I'm curious, like, looking at, okay, so my peer mentors are in there and they're documenting things. Is there a way for you to see a snapshot of like what they're documenting, or do you have to go into each student file to see what they're documenting?
I do have to go to each student file unless I pull up a report, and the
Okay.
report will kind of show everything, but then I pull a report of everything. But I do have to go through each of them. So it does take a little bit, but I mark out a few hours, or a week. So that, but yeah, so at the moment, individually, we'll report for all.
What is y'all's favorite part about me?
You want to answer it?
I think it really gives you an opportunity to like reach people and like actually like talk to them and like get to know people on campus. Because I think it's really hard, especially in this generation, to actually make genuine connections with people and actually get to know someone rather than outside of like class. Like the whole reason I became a mentor was because I had a really great mentor last year and now she's my mentee. And so it's kind of like a full circle thing where it's like you can really meet people and they really want to help you. I think that's a really good thing about being a mentor, especially like as also being a mentee. It was like I knew that like this person actually wanted to help me and they were there and they were ready and they were very well prepared and I had all the resources like ready for me. So I think that's probably the best part, I feel like.
Yeah, like Belle said, just to add it to the answer. Yeah, like I don't know if like I joined the program like since my freshman year, 2019. I'll remember my mentor. She was also an engineer like me. She told me, hey, we have this requirement as engineers that we have to study abroad, right? And I didn't know anything about it. So she guided me through the process, and because she just came back she went to Spain, right? So she convinced me, hey, like Spain's a great place. You should do the same. So I applied now. Now as a mentor, I'm doing the same thing to my students, right? Now, the deadline's coming up. You should apply to. I also told him to go to Spain because I went to Spain, right? We have to do campus over there. But if not, hey, we have study abroad fair. Just make sure to go. And yeah, like Mallory said, just to connect people. And some people just want to get connected with the school. Yeah. All right.
What are some of the most common things y'all are doing in Reader Success Hub when working with your mentees? Like, what are you looking at the most, or are you looking at things, or are you more so just documenting more casual conversations that you're having to check in on students?
Yeah, so the interactions that we have in Direct Success Hub, we send out emails through there, and then it just pretty much we set up our availability. We schedule the appointments. I mean, sometimes they're the ones doing the appointments, right? But sometimes, let's say someone drops into our office, hey, like I haven't been able to like reach out to you guys, or something happens, come to our office, and then we are the ones in that case scheduling the appointment. And besides that, once we have the appointment, there's like small like notes that we have. Hey, this student is interested in being a student org, right? So that's kind of the notes that we take down in the Direct Success Hub. Yes. Yes.
Is there any preliminary information you utilize to rate your success of that guides the conversation and discussion you do have when you actually connect with the mentee? For example, academic status, courses, register for, grades, holds, etc.
Yeah, so whenever the student is scheduling the appointment, like they're gonna be asked, like, I think there's like just a checklist of like appointment or like topics the student wants to discuss. But usually the students that I've received, they say, hey, just want to discuss about the program, right? So usually it all depends on the like point of the semester, right? Let's say we're having, for instance, this is February, we're close to getting the register, right? So on our emails, we said, hey, like registration is coming up, and then that's kind of like the topics that we have, but we don't have a specific topic. We usually let the student guide it. Let's say it all depends on the student, like I said. If they want to connect with the students or a student org, we're gonna talk about that. If they like struggling with class, so hey, let's take you to study sessions, right? So it all depends on the student, but yeah, I wanna add to that.
Yeah, just adding on to that, it can also be like, I remember one of my mentees had a course approval, so it's like kind of just sat down and they were the same major as I am. So I just kind of gave some like feedback on some of the professors, some of the courses, which course to take, because sometimes some degrees, it's kind of, you get to pick which class you want to take at specific points. So it's kind of like, hey, I recommend you take this class first. So just kind of give them advice from our previous experiences.
Back on what you were saying, Brandon. So as a staff, we will do like GPA audits. We will do all that stuff. And then hopefully in the future, we can kind of get the students to see those things to show up as red flags. Like GPA is low, but I think as they're still learning, obviously not throwing it all in them. But in the future, I think that's something that we can do. That way, if there is a student below a 2.0 and they're having those conversations, that they can let us know, like, hey, Sharon, I just met with a student and they have like a 1.25. I don't, they kind of tell me what's going on, but you may want to jump in and help. And that goes back to the alerts, and that goes back to being able to look at the interactions of the students. Because if I log into their interactions and I see that there's a GPA low, or I see that they're on probation, then I can communicate with them and be like, all right, let's talk this through. What was your conversation like? Let's talk about resources and tools that we can do. And so right now, us as staff members are navigating that, but hopefully in the future, as they kind of get really more familiar with it, that they can see those red flags and understand what support that student may need. But at the moment, we haven't kind of got to that point yet.
Yes.
So whenever y'all are notified about work, y'all create an actual alert, or y'all like paycheck interaction?
So at the moment, some of them are familiar with the alerts, so we're kind of going through a little transition. So some of them are familiar with the alerts and they'll notify me, but a lot of them I either catch when I look at the interactions, or some of them will immediately come tell me and be like, hey, Sharon, I just literally met with this student, is there something I kind of had red flag? So I will go in there and tag that alert. That way it is on that student's file, even though that alert probably should get to me. And so I will tag that, and then we will kind of help navigate that.
Yes.
Say that they're a graduate student in their first gen, and they did the first gen and they have as graduate students, but they're not students. How would you assess that? How would you adjust for that?
So right now, the program was initially just built for undergrad students. And so we are now barely getting to the point where we're talking about graduate initiatives. Because one thing that we have really noticed is there's a lot of international students that have no idea that they're first gen, because their parents did get a degree and outside of the United States. So technically they are first gen. And so, I'm a grad student myself, and there's still obstacles that I'm facing. So I think it's brought up a lot of red flags. Like, okay, how do we support our graduate student population? So right now, that's something that we're doing. So that's why right now we only have we used to have 2 grad peer mentors, but now we have 1, and so we're in the middle of hiring another. But that's why we started off pretty slow. So we had 2 grad students. They did grad study nights last semester. It was amazing how many grad students showed up to those events. And so now we're just thinking on how we can just because you're not an undergrad student doesn't mean that you don't need the same resources and support as you are as a grad student. And so those are things that are coming through the pipeline, but those are things that we're working. So we're kind of like in a trial and error.
Yes. Yes.
I do have a question, and I think it's but y'all have gone through kind of a reflection period. They're often in the first. And so I'm wondering, when you kind of think back at the past 12 and 24 months, do you have a learning lesson, a best piece of advice? Not necessarily program interested in integrating greater success of process section. What's your biggest takeaway that you would share with us?
I'd say for me, for example, you might be expecting something going into it, but you might actually like see more benefits than what I actually have planned. For example, with Radio Success Hub, if you, for example, if I have my availability, for example, I have only so much time throughout the day to meet with my mentees. And it's like, hey, I can work with you around your schedule, your timing, but it's kind of like also like, hey, we meet for like a meeting, and then after it's like, hey, there's like this event going on. It's like we can just like kind of like go there, or just kind of just like also just form like a deeper connection instead of just like on the mentee basis. I don't know if that kind of like answers your question. But yeah.
For me, since like I mentioned, I've been here since 2019, and even then I was a mentee, right? And the whole change before, yes, I had to sign up myself with the program, right? And now like everyone's, as long as you answer first gen in your school application, you're into the program, right? But I feel like that's a easier process, right? Because some people like me, I had to just be lucky that I saw a flyer out there, right? So if people, I think like if they're automatically into the program, to direct success of, I think it's going to be easier for them to see it and like to be like part of it. So
I think when it comes to like actually starting like a mentor program, you have to be mindful. I think really about how much time you have and how much time other people have. I think especially when it comes to starting a mentor program, people get really, really excited, and then they have really, really, really high expectations. And it's like, you have to really be thoughtful and be intentional about how you plan it and what you want to execute and the purpose of what you're doing this, because people absolutely want help. It's just, you need to be really intentional about how you help them and what you're doing for them. So I think that's like a really important thing, I would say. But yeah.
So I think for me, for the takeaway, I think it's just been able to bring all of the pieces together. I've been like here, and then I'm over here, and then I'm over here. And so I think with this system, it has really been able to help me kind of stay on track with what they're doing. But one thing I will say is just be patient. Like at first, I know it was very overwhelming for them, and I heard a lot of from everywhere, not just from them. They're like, oh my God, this is a lot. This is a lot. And I'm like, I know it is. But then I'm also like, it's going to help me. Like, it's okay. We will get through it. You know, I'm going through the trainings the same way they are. And so I think just being patient and just saying, you know, let's talk about the big picture. How is this going to benefit the program? How is this going to benefit the students? And understand that this resource is really impactful. And so again, just be patient, but also, you know, students tend to get a little deflated with it as we're going through trainings. It's very like standard, and it is a lot of information. But I'm like, it's okay, I'm right there with you. Like, I'm right there with you. We're doing it together. I'm going through these trainings with you. Like, what questions do you have? You know, like I said the other day, I went to their suite. I'm like, all right, let's talk. What do you not like about it? And so we had a list. I'm like, okay, let's talk about how we can, you know, navigate this. I'm like, well, what do you like? And then, well, what do you think we should do now? Like, what else do you think we should do next? So I'm also very vocal. Like, I want to hear what they have to say, because we got to go to the front line. And so again, just be patient and just continue to be like, it's gonna be all right. We're in this together. We can navigate this together. But overall, it's just been very with our program and how we just kind of navigate track. Any other questions?
I'm honor science and the humanities, basically pre-med.
Mechanical engineering.
For me, it's sport management and business.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's all.
Okay.
Like, who's next?
Okay.
Well, my major is higher education administration. I'm excited. But then I also tell them, like, I'm with you. When I say I'm with you because I'm doing the whole school thing. I'm also navigating all of this. And so I think just being that support system for them and just letting, like, you can ask them. I know probably will hear me say this. They're like, really? I'm their biggest cheerleader. Like, I'm like, yes, you got this. You can do this. And so I think just giving that support is really important. But I know we only have a few minutes. So I want to thank my peer mentors for standing up here and answering these questions and talking to everyone. So thank you so much. So to kind of, you're more welcome to now.
Okay.
Yeah.
You might-
So to kind of talk about some future goals, we want to talk about kind of, okay, how do we add and remove students? How do we know if they left? How do we know if they've graduated? And so we will work with Raiders Success Hub on being able to do that. Additionally, we want to be able to send out mass emails. They have 400 caseloads. I would love for them to send one email to 400 students with a flyer. And then something in the works, we had a session earlier about events. I think if you and your program in your department do events or do student trainings or do tutoring, to really utilize that event piece of it, because it's going to be really beneficial when you have to run all that information. And so just to kind of end off, I did have pretty much all of the Raiders Success Hub, all of their contact information. I also don't know if any of you are familiar. I know we've got a lot of information today, but I really send my students, I'm like, if you have a question for Raiders Success Hub, go to the website and there's like a RSH help center. And so the students will also ask questions. They'll send emails for any kind of support that they have. And so that's a great resource to use as well. Yes, ma'am. Go for it. Yeah, so what'll happen is normally when we send out like our mass emails, the student will reply back and say, please take me off the mailing list. I don't want to be part of this anymore. And so what we'll do is we'll reach out to Lauren and say, hey, can we take this student? Can we take that tag off the student and just take them out of the program? Now, if I see that it's a student who's been very interactive or I have some red flags in that email, I will follow up and say, hey, I just want to make sure before I opt you out, is there something I can help you with, or is something going on, or, and I will ask those questions. And then if they're not, they're just like, nope, I don't want to be in it. Then we will just reach out to them to remove that student from that tag. And then we have an internal list in Blackboard that we have, and then we remove that student as well. Yeah. And then finally, this is our information. So if y'all ever have any questions or have any great ideas or have students, please feel free to reach out to me. I will filter them to my peer mentors. We're in the middle of building our website. And so hopefully our website will come up soon and it will have all of our peer mentors on that website. So if you ever have you have a conversation with a student and they're engineering, you can say, oh, I'm going to send you over here to Arturo because he's an engineering peer mentor. And whether that's his peer mentor or not, he can help navigate those things. And so if y'all have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. But thank y'all for meeting with us. And again, I know you talked about building a mentorship program. If you ever just want to sit down and chat, I'm always here for that as well. And so let me know. But yes, thank you for spending some time with me and y'all have a great day.